What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Table That Discussion. Happy Friday, everybody. That's right, it is Friday. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here, my usual Friday panel, Jen Piacenti and Adam Ronis here, and then also Dan Malin and Ryan Hallam. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing well?
Doing great.
Okay, yeah.
Better.
Oh, I got Jen going, what's the matter, Jen? What's the matter? The thought of you sandwiched between Paul Newman and Robert Redford not doing it for you today?
Actually, excuse me. I'm just going to go dark for a minute.
Uh-oh.
She literally went
Just
dark.
kidding.
She just blew the entire live stream. Matt Sells is all flipped out.
Business was about to pick up there for a second.
No, you know what? I was thinking about this, Jen. You can't go dark ever at any point because if you look at the fantasy alarm community, we're pretty much like the Smurfs, right? And you are our lone Smurfette. So we need to start hiring more women, all right, or we're going to have to start referring to you as Smurfette. Which one's going to be?
I got a story for you that involves Smurfette that's going to make you root for calling me Smurfette, and that is that when I was about 6 years old, I told my mom I wanted a Smurf party, so she actually made me Smurfette, and every child that came to the party, she painted them blue. She crocheted herself a beard and wore the Papa Smurf. She was Papa Smurf. I got to be Smurfette, and all my friends were painted blue, and I have no idea what their parents must have thought when they came to pick up their blue children. But it was a serious Smurf party. I love the Smurfs. I should have picked Smurfs for my SFBX.
Rick Piacenti, where are the pictures of this?
Yeah, okay. Right? Like, how pissed off would you be as a parent coming and picking up your kid and your kid's completely blue?
I don't know. I don't think my mom even prepped them for that. So, I don't know.
Wow. You led quite a childhood life, I got to tell you.
Yeah, I did. I had a very, very interesting childhood.
Adam, how about yourself, man? You and we got some fun stuff ahead of us with the FSGA next week. You and I partnering up for the Futures and Props Bet draft. That's actually going to be a pretty exciting one. I'm going to lean on you, though. I'm just saying.
Oh, you are? Well, you were going to be on your own, and then you added me. So I thought you had a plan in place. You're leaning on me.
Plan was adding you.
It should be fun. You know, it's unique, and obviously sports wagering becoming a bigger thing. So it's cool that they put that concept together, and definitely something we haven't done before. So it's going to be a challenge.
It's definitely going to be a challenge. It's going to be a lot of fun. And next week, all those FSGA drafts are going on, and we're actually going to be live streaming all of them right here on Fantasy Alarm and, FSGA sites and social media. That's going to be showing it as well. So a lot of fun there. Adam's in another draft as well. One of the other conferences. Oh, and Ryan Hallam, you're actually going to be you and Mark Taylor are partnering up as the Fanjections duo. But I hear you're going to be running the show.
Mark came out to me and he's like, I came in last year. Can you join in? I was like, somebody has to come in last. It's it happens. But yeah, I will be joining for the Tuesday draft.
Why do we advertise that? I came in last year. Jeez. You better shape up, buddy.
Oh, I didn't come in last year. Mark came in last year.
Yes, still. Sit up straight, Hallam. Come on. There you go. Show some pride, fella. Dan Malin over here. Good to see you as well. Fresh off of an Offensive Line Matters article, a podcast for MMA, a podcast for NASCAR. You're kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah, keeping busy as well as I possibly can. Got a 12-fight card for MMA this week. Offensive Lines Matter article for the NFL Draft Guide is out now. Just before we went live, I published the Xfinity playbook for Saturday's Talladega race, and then Matt and I have everybody covered for Sunday's Talladega race, which I was lucky enough to get a ticket to. So I'll be one of 5,000 people in attendance in Alabama on Sunday.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you have a good camera that you're going to bring with you?
I was just going to take pictures on my phone. I know you got a little mad at Matt and I last year when we didn't take enough pictures at Daytona. We'll do my best to get more photos this year from Talladega.
Last year, these jackasses are sitting there they're in the middle of the track. They had press credentials, everything like that. Did I see one single picture from there? No.
Wow.
We got into the driver's meeting before like the race even started. It's just like a small room with maybe 70 people, but it's got every driver and their crew chief, and we still had nothing from that as well. We were just kind of taking in the experience.
Yeah,
Right.
pictures or it didn't happen. Come on, Dan.
Sorry.
Right. Well, see, for the next segment, for the first thing I wanted to talk about, Dan, this could be you. So one of the things that, and I think, Dan, this was your question. If this entire Fantasy Alarm crew, that's right, all the Smurfs and Smurfette, turned around and competed on the show Survivor, well, who do you vote out first? Who's your first vote out for Survivor? Ryan, you're the big Survivor guy, and you did the playbook, the Survivor playbook. But I think I won like $2.10 in total for the entire season, which
big winner,
huge. I even had in your stupid seasonal game, I had the winner and yet still lost because Amber was the only player to give us negative points, and she was a disaster. But Ryan, talk to me here. Fantasy Alarm Survivor, who gets that first vote out?
This is going to be tough coming right out of the gate, but I'm going to go with Adam Ronis.
You don't even know me that well.
Here's what... Of everyone that we work with, I feel like you have the strongest opinions. I feel like you're the most set in your ways, and I feel like that might rub some people the wrong way. They might be like, "Hey, Adam, can you do that?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm over here doing this," and I feel like that might cost you the first vote out.
That's not true. I am a team player. Howard, do I ever give you any issues when you ask?
He's arguing with me right now. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what you voted off, dude.
Did you just ask me to vouch for you, Ronis?
Well, I didn't ask you to vouch for me. I asked you, do I ever give you any issue when you ask me to do something?
Let's see. I'm just going to vote right now here. All right. I'm just going to vote right now.
He's going to just pick me out of spite.
What would I pick you out of spite out of? I don't even know you that well.
All right, well, so
Shots
strong
fired.
opinions, and I don't know him very well. So Ryan's voting out Ronis. Adam, who are you voting out?
Well, I was going to preface it by saying there's a lot of people on the staff that I don't know very well. I'm really just getting to know Dan through these video streams. I don't know him well. I know he's a weird eater.
Thanks, man.
I don't know Ryan that well. Obviously, I've known Jen for a while. I know Howard for a while. But yeah, I'll just pick Howard. I mean, the guy doesn't leave his house. He doesn't want to leave his house. And, I just think he'd be really miserable there and it would annoy the hell of us. And we'd vote him out.
My social game would be the bomb. Are you kidding me? I know everybody on the island. I've got the connections. I've got the alliance you need, Ronis.
I think you'd be one of the guys, Howard, that jumped off one of the things in the water and held your nose on the way down.
No,
I don't know.
That's definitely not me. I'm actually a very strong swimmer.
How are you in puzzles? Because that's important.
Dude, come on. Really? I mix and match you clowns all day long, every day with schedules. So I'm fine with it. All right. So Adam, you turn on me. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll cut your throat. Dan Malin, how about you?
I actually said Jim Bowden. When I look at Jim, I kind of get a Jimmy Johnson vibe. And Jimmy Johnson was voted off like third in his season.
He didn't do very well.
And so, I look at Jim, and I'm like, I can imagine Jim just getting out to the island, and he's like, I've got a beautiful home in Miami, a beautiful, beautiful wife in Miami. Like, if I get sent home, so be it. He gets to go back to a great life. So I could see, Jim possibly getting the Jimmy Johnson treatment and getting voted out pretty early.
They also had, if you remember, the vice president of the Marlins on one season, and he did really crappy. If he wasn't the first one out, he was like the second one out also. So executives in sports have not done well. Historically.
Yeah, not Jen. Here we go.
All right. So I have a very real reason for why I'm going to vote this person off the island. And the person is, I'm sorry, Ryan Hallam, it's you. I'm voting you off the island, and this is why. In our series of interviews, 5-on-5s, 3-point plays, I found out that Ryan Hallam has a strange affinity for serial killers. This is a true story. I said, who do you want at your table? He said, if you're last dinner, he said Jeffrey Dahmer, like things like this. I think that it's for our own safety that we get rid of this guy. He could turn
I said
cannibal.
Charles Manson.
I'm sorry, Charles
He
Manson.
at least knew the truth about Jared from Subway.
But the fact that you knew this, this guy is a danger to us. We have to get him off the island. It's for your own protection, guys. He could turn cannibal.
Okay. All right, beautiful, beautiful. So we're all turning on each other, which means that I have to seek my alliances from somewhere else. Ronis, I think if you and I formed an alliance, it would be one of those alliances that nobody would ever think would happen. So
That's true. So we'd
kind of
shock the world.
keep that in mind. You know, keep that in mind as I'm palling around with Impemba and Grande. These are my boys.
Impemba was my second choice because everyone's always said that he doesn't really have any interest past sports, and I kind of figured like after a couple days of every conversation going back to sports for him and talking about Tom Brady that probably people would want to get rid of him.
Yeah, but he'd be so easy to feed though. It's like you just give him fish or rice and he doesn't need a condiment.
His cooking might help him. I don't know, that could save him, but I don't know. I don't know about some of the challenges too. I don't know, John. There's a lot of running or.
But who would you vote off the island, Howard Bender? Dodging the question.
I'm not dodging the question. It was my question to ask all of you. It doesn't matter who I'm picking.
That's really cheap, Howard.
Oh, is that? You want me to single somebody out?
The target's now on Howard's back.
Right? Who am I going to vote out? I mean, I really like that Jim Bowden call by Malin. Listen, I love you, Jim. You know I love you, but yeah, that might actually be a pretty good one. You know what? I think I would probably look for somebody who is an underrated challenge threat, and I think that might be Steve Pimentel. Right? He kind of hangs out in the background. He does the WNBA coverage. He does the EPL coverage. He's in good shape. He's a smart dude. I feel like he might be like people think he's like super personable. He's like a guy that if he came to the ending there, the jury would be like, we like this dude. Steve's a nice guy. So I think I'd have to cut his throat.
All right.
Seems reasonable.
Right. There you go. There you go. Not you, Adam.
You're the only person who said that you vote the guy off for being really nice. Everyone else kind of went at somebody for something. This guy's too nice.
You don't want the nice people. You want big targets constantly in the game to deflect from you. Although I tell you what, Dan Williams would be a challenge beast, and I don't know if I would want to go up against him. Like that dude. Point. Yeah. He would be a challenge beast.
He would also have a good social game.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's a good point.
Indeed. All right, guys. So apparently MLB and the players and the owners, only 10 games and about $250 million apart. And while $250 million is quite the exorbitant number for people like you and me, for the players and for the owners, it's just a mere drop in the bucket. So we're trying to look at this with a little bit of optimism. Yes, I know a bunch of Philadelphia Phillies have already now tested positive for COVID, and we're going to end up starting to get that deluge of cases named there as well. But nevertheless, I think that we are probably as close to getting a deal done as we possibly could. So with that, I want to know if we're talking about let's say 66 games was what Jim Bowden had speculated. Strategy adjustments that you guys are looking at right now, and thoughts about how to get off to a hot start, because this is no longer a marathon. It is a sprint. Jen, what do you think?
I mean, still the number one change for me is simply the, fading starting pitching, not prioritizing it quite as much. Are you guys still there? Am I frozen?
No, you were frozen for a moment, but
okay.
We could still hear you.
You could? It's amazing.
Sells was just going to drop in a picture of Smurfette at that point.
That would work, yeah. It's still just not prioritizing starting pitching as much as I would in a longer season, because just the bulk of innings we don't need. And then I'm going to look at prioritizing people like the Astros and the A's, the Twins, the Cleveland Indians, because of who they're playing with the divisional realignments. I'm also going to look at prioritizing people that have very steady floors. So I know we said it's a sprint, not a marathon, but that being said, I want to get people, like, for instance, a late round target like Elvis Andrus. That guy always hits for average. He always steals some bags. That's somebody I'm interested in having. I want a few of those, and then a few guys with really high ceilings. Dansby Swanson was the hottest player in baseball for about 127 games last year. Anybody can be on a hot streak. So I want to get these guys that have been pretty steady, probably some middle boring players to set my stage. And then I'm going to try to pick people that have high ceilings, and then I'm going to have a short leash.
Okay, makes sense. Let's go right above you. Dan Malin, what do you think?
I agree with a lot of what Jen just said. One thing that if I'm doing a redraft league, I'm not going to be taking chances on guys I think might be able to land a closer job. With a shorter season, I feel like the opportunities for that are going to be fewer and far between. Instead, I may just lock in a lot of guys that are just solid middle relievers that can really help out with strikeout ratios, maybe lower the ERA just a little bit. I do think that you're going to need to operate on shorter leashes for a lot of guys. It's a shorter season. You don't really have the opportunity to wait for a lot of guys to come around. You've got to be dominating waivers. You've got to be quick to react and pull the trigger for guys that may be struggling.
Okay, all right. I like it. Ronis, first initial thoughts.
I am going to look for guys that are going to give me as many at-bats. I don't want guys in platoons. You can't do it. Unless you're in a daily format and can switch the lineups in and out. You need as many at-bats as possible. So guys who are in platoons, it's going to hurt a lot of the Tampa Bay Rays. We know they employ a lot of platoons, so I'm just not going to be taking a lot of those players. Austin Meadows I will, but outside of that, it's going to be really difficult. Again, unless you're in a daily format where you can shift players in and out. But if you're in a weekly league and you can only make lineup moves once a week, you can't do it. In the NFBC, you might be able to because, you can make changes on Fridays for your lineup. So you can look at the schedule Monday through Thursday, and maybe you have a lefty going against the righty 3 of the 4 games. But just every at-bat is so important. It really is the season. I think people overlook it a lot, and that's how a lot of the successful high-stakes players do well, is they really scrutinize every single matchup, look at the ballparks. But in a shortened season, you have to really look at it under a microscopic eye. So you need to get as many at-bats as possible, and I'm not taking any chance on any players that are hurt. Aaron Judge, I've seen some of the drafts where he's still going early. I want no part of it. He might be healthy in the summer by the time they start, but we know he's been hurt for a while, so you can't take any risk at all. Any guys that have some type of injury, you can't wait around for it, which is complete opposite of what I was doing in February and March. I mean, labor draft, I took 3 guys that were hurt in a reserve round. I took Alex Verdugo, Cole Hamels, and Nick Senzel. Because I said, all right, we have unlimited IL, and I got time to wait. I can do that now. And I know some of those guys are going to be healthy. And then even some people are going to be optimistic on some of these players, like Aaron Hicks now. Oh, well, he's going to be ready. He's still coming off Tommy John surgery. We don't know how much he's done. So you just cannot take risk on these injured guys.
Ryan, one of the things I was looking at was the pitching staffs. We look at ballparks, and I've talked about, dominating with AL and NL Central players. The ballparks are a lot more friendly. Pitching staffs are a lot more friendly. You're dealing with Detroit and Kansas City and Pittsburgh, which is atrocious. But how about one of the things that I've been looking at, the pitching staffs of the National League East, and that's kind of getting me to lay off a number of hitters from the AL East. Like you're dealing with, if you're in that eastern side there, you've got the national staff, which is ridiculous. You've got Aaron Nola in Philly. You've got DeGrom pitching out of the Mets. I mean, it's really you look at it, and I'll tell you what, even you got some up and comers on Miami.
Yeah, but you also have Baltimore, who doesn't really have a great starting staff. You have other teams that Boston without Chris Sale, their pitching staff isn't very good. Toronto. So you have a lot of hitter-friendly ballparks. Boston, New York, the Yankee Stadium, not Citi Field so much. Camden Yards isn't exactly the biggest stadium either. So in the East, you have a good amount of poor staffs and hitter-friendly parks as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. It's a little bit of the good mixed with a little bit of the bad.
All right, very good stuff to know here. Got a lot of background noise here. What's going on? Somebody sitting in a wind tunnel right now? Got an open window here?
I don't think it's me. I unplugged and replugged.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, I'll have to take a look at that. So apologize if you guys are catching any background noise there, but we'll continue here. Overall, anybody sitting here looking at MLB for this year and thinking, I've got drafts coming up. Like, are you going to, like, if they do spring training, let's say it starts at the end of June through the first couple of weeks of July, are you going to join into any new leagues at all? I got a head shake from Hallam, so no.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I've drafted all I need to draft.
I might. Why not?
Right? I mean, what else are you going to do? Right?
I mean,
Sure.
everything else is coming right behind it. I mean, I got fantasy football coming. By the time these guys get on the field, it's going to be major fantasy football prep time. You got other things coming up. I'm already in a bunch. I don't know that I really need any more. And if it's going to be 60 games, I mean, it's good. I'm glad it's coming back, but it kind of sucks still. Such
I
a
think
short
a new
season.
league as a one-off would be fun. Like, we've only got 66 games. Let's do it. It's just 1 year. We're going to get a bunch of people together, see how we can win with these strategies. And honestly, as analysts, I think we could learn a lot. This might happen again. There could be strikes. There could be a lot of things that go on. There could be another coronavirus one day. And I think we're going to learn a lot. We've never really done a 66-season MLB season before, so 66 game MLB season before. So I think it would be really interesting for us to see what happens, to try to track it. Even if it's an outlier, it may not even be that much of an outlier. Some of this could continue into 2021. There could be a slow start, there could be a redo. There's a lot of things we can learn. So I think it would be wise for us to play in, leagues and draft a new way.
Right. Just kind of check it out, see what it's like. Adam,
what's it like?
would you do it? I mean, listen, you play in a lot of high stakes leagues. Would you consider putting any kind of, serious money on a truncated season league?
No, I won't do it in a high stakes format. Did an NFBC auction for half the price, like in March. My guess is we'll play that out. Most of my draft, I think the only draft that I had that was postponed was the one that Jen and I were in, the GDD league. I'm assuming. Do you know if he's going to put that together if we continue? I haven't heard anything.
He actually sent me a message asking what would my vote be, and I said my vote would be to do it, but I understand either way. So, I think he was just kind of feeling out some people. He didn't actually take a vote, just wondering how I was feeling about it. And I was like, I'm still up to play,
Yeah, I'd say if the majority of the group want to do it, then I would too.
Yeah.
Really don't want to redraft all the leagues that I did. I understand the context is changed, but I've done like 7-8 leagues. Are we just supposed to all redraft all of those? I mean, you have to take time into consideration and people's schedules. So I really don't want to redraft every single league that I was in.
Yeah, no, I don't want to have to redraft every single league that I'm in either. It's, I mean, for the most part, for me, I mean, it's, what did I draft already? I drafted a couple of best balls. I drafted Labor. I drafted Tout. And I drafted the FSGA. I don't even think we're even going to be looking at any kind of like Sirius XM leagues. We've already got the Dynasty League for that, and we did the draft already, the rookie draft and free agent draft for that. But
now, Howard, don't forget about our combo league. We're doing a draft right now.
Oh, this league. This is
I feel like it's been going on for like 3 weeks.
We're like
and I'm going to let you know,
right now.
if he's still there, my next pick is going to be Dylan Carlson. Does that make you sad?
Nice.
It's a nice one.
I hope he's still there.
Who's on the clock so I can email them?
I hope Engel already picked. He's already sniped me a few times.
Who is on the clock, right? I'll tell you right now. Adam, you should be emailing. Ooh. Scott Engel. He's up right now.
No, I already told him he was up. Don't give him any more clues.
That's why he's the king.
You got Engel, you got Legend, Lenny Melnick, Sky Dombrowski after that. They all have 2 picks each going. So
yeah, but did they have outfielders available?
Better be careful
do they
for
have
Lenny.
a spot?
Bench spot.
Carlson.
There it goes. Shouldn't open up your mouth like that, Jen.
Yeah.
The whole world is watching this.
Do you want to see my list? Because, guys, this is how I draft. It looks like this.
You can't see that with your virtual background.
Now we see it.
It's just
Keep
like
it in front of you.
scratches, and it's very organized. I don't do anything digital. I'm old. I do this.
You went away.
Yep. I gotcha. Which just kind of brings me to my next vote out here from Survivor. And we say goodbye to Jen. Thank you so much. Thanks for playing. Thanks for shopping. All right, so we'll wait and see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, baseball gets a deal done by the end of this weekend, and perhaps maybe we can look at it. Maybe we'll do like an interesting fantasy alarm staff league, and see what we can do for that. See who employs what strategies. All right, next topic. We'll table the baseball talk here. A couple of shows ago, Dan Malin was revealed the impossible in the wake of Fenty and Ronis, and he turned around and said that he thought The Last Dance was overrated. And again, I'm not going to disagree with him because it didn't really do much for me either, probably because I'm not a basketball guy. But the question is now, name one athlete you'd actually like to see a movie made about. Who wants to go first on that one?
I can go first.
There it is.
Herschel Walker has always been a pretty interesting guy to me, and I wasn't even like a Cowboys fan growing up or anything, but came from nothing in Georgia. His workout regimen that he started in high school, it's like 1,000 push-ups and like 2,000 sit-ups a day. It's absolutely insane. Even at his age today, I think he's like 58 years old. He still does it. He's also struggled with mental health. I don't say that was the end-all be-all for his previous marriage, but it did play a pretty big impact. But I mean, he's gotten it together, and he's been one of the biggest campaigners for awareness with mental health and everything like that. But then, aside from football, he was also an Olympic bobsledder while he was an active NFL player in, I think, 1992. He also had a brief MMA career with 2 knockout wins at the age of 48. Always thought he was an incredibly fascinating guy. He coined the term, my body is a temple. Still maintains that ridiculous workout regimen of just simple push-ups and sit-ups, thousands of them every day. So, I mean, Herschel Walker is always a guy that I would love to see a movie get made about him.
All right, I'll go to Adam here. Obviously, a big Herschel Walker fan himself. Cowboys sold Herschel Walker for like everything and anything. It was unbelievable there.
Help build that dynasty.
It was crazy. It was crazy what that trade did for Dallas. So, Adam, I know you're a big fan of The Last Dance, but let's avoid the Michael Jordan rerun here. We don't need a sequel. Give me an athlete who you really want to see a movie made about.
Kobe Bryant, one of my favorite athletes all the time. I've read his book, and he's just so motivational. Every time I hear him speak, just his work ethic. And I know they've kind of done some documentaries and stuff on him, and we've got some background. And obviously, a lot has been talked about because of the tragic death that occurred in January. And I remember that day too. I was out, eating lunch at a place, and I'm just kind of scrolling through my phone, and I was like, this can't be real. It was just kind of surreal seeing what happened that day. But like, he had a huge life ahead of him. He did so much other stuff off the court, and he was just so motivational. His work ethic just he just hated to lose. And, I identify with that, and just his passion to win and all the hard work that he put in. So for me, it would be Kobe Bryant.
All right.
Fun fact here, if I may interject, I was in Vegas the day it happened, and I don't know how many people know this, but I was set up to do a helicopter ride in Vegas that night, and he died during the morning. So I still went, but it was really, really weird to go up in the air that same day that Kobe passed away. So creepy stuff.
Did you go up in the air thinking, hey, it couldn't possibly crash?
That was kind of it can't happen twice, right? And I'm petrified of heights to begin with, so I had heart palpitations just thinking about it, and then throwing that on top of it was really kind of crazy. But honestly, I felt really safe. It was actually a really cool thing. If anyone goes to Vegas, they really should do that. It was pretty awesome.
Well, I know you only asked for one, but another guy that I would like to see is Ken Griffey. But I heard they're coming out with something. Is it this week or soon? There's going to be something on Ken Griffey Jr.
I haven't heard.
On MLB Network, I heard.
Probably.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah. He makes the game of baseball cool is a MLB Network documentary about him that's coming out.
Is that this week?
It'll air on Sunday, June 21st, 8 p.m.
Oh, nice. Let me write that down.
Right. All of a sudden, it's like, my Sunday's booked now. Thank you.
I love Griffey. I feel like sometimes he kind of gets lost in it. Remember, they just did, I don't know if you guys watched the Sosa McGuire thing last Sunday, and Griffey was in that race and kind of fell out of it. It's like, I kind of feel like sometimes Griffey doesn't get talked about enough.
It's the sweetest swing in baseball.
Yeah.
I agree.
Definitely.
And I think a lot of people believe, and we don't know for sure, he's one of the few that probably did not use PEDs. Again, we cannot prove any of that, but a lot of people believe he didn't.
And our own Jim Bowden traded for him.
There you go.
Jim Bowden
Another
did
good
trade
reason.
for him. Hallam, how about you? Documentary you'd like to see, or even just a movie? It could just be a regular movie. Doesn't have to be an exact documentary.
I had a good one, and then I saw yesterday or late last night that is actually coming out. But Mike Tyson, I think, would be fascinating if you've read his book. His life was insanity. So to put that to the screen, I think would be really, really cool. My follow-up would be John Daly, just to see how just degenerate of a lifestyle he's actually led.
Who would play Tyson in a Tyson documentary?
Fox.
Definitely Jamie Foxx.
Playing him.
Yeah.
I saw there's a movie coming. I hope it. Seriously, if you have not read the book, it is insane. Like, he's done more cocaine than everyone on earth put together, and just his life was. It was just crazy. Like, he was fighting for the championship, and he'd go home to Brooklyn. He'd like rob people's houses. Like, he couldn't get that part out of him, even when he was having success. Just demon after demon, and he tried to fight and couldn't. And then at the same time was the youngest heavyweight champion, the baddest man on the planet. Like, it's crazy. He I'm assuming it's all true that he wrote, but it was really an easy read, and it would be really cool to see, cool in a way to see on screen.
You know what I would love? I would love a what if with Tyson. Like, what if Customato didn't pass away? Like,
he went to the same high school I did.
Who, Customato?
No, Tyson. Catskill, New York.
Well, all right. Did you see him in the hallways?
I think he's a little
hang
older
out
than
with
me.
him.
He's a little older than me.
Okay. Either way, like, a what if Customato didn't die, and see what could have happened, what Tyson's life could have been like. Because D'Amato was just really always looking out for him, and it definitely could have turned things into a totally different direction. I mean, keeping that killer instinct, but staying out of trouble. Dan Malin, how about you?
I already went.
Did you? Who'd you say?
Jen.
Said Herschel Walker.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot because I didn't like that answer. Jen, what do you got?
Oh God.
Well, I'm not very good at this because the first person I thought was Nolan Ryan. How cool would that guy be? And then I realized they kind of already did a movie about Nolan Ryan, and I'd even seen it. So I pushed that one off the list, and I thought, oh, I know, Hank Aaron. How cool would that be? I mean, talk about a story, like dealing with the racial issues, and now he's the, an executive with the Braves, and like the story of like the day he met his wife, and he was like, she came to the game and he hit this double and this home run and all this. It's just a great, amazing story. But it turns out they already did a movie about him too when I looked it up. So he's out. Then I thought Bo Jackson. Turns out they're doing a 30 for 30 on that guy. So I'm just going to go with Rafael Nadal because I think he's young enough that no one's made a movie yet. We put a few clips in there from Roger Federer, maybe some Djokovic, and done.
Did they do a movie on Johnny McEnroe?
Yeah, there's been McEnroe movies, and there's the whole Borg versus. I mean, there's been a whole lot of. Did you see Love Equals? What was that tennis documentary?
No, that was called Wimbledon. It was Kirsten Dunst.
No. But my real vote would be either Nolan Ryan or Hank Aaron. Maybe a better, bigger movie. Like both of those would be great characters, great movies.
Okay. I can dig it. Some good suggestions there. If anybody out there from Hollywood is watching, we've got some really good brainstorming ideas here. Well, except for Malin's, but
nice.
Whatever. No problem. All right, let's jump into some fantasy football talk here. Right, we've gone through about halfway through this show. We haven't touched any fantasy football. We've got the NFL Draft Guide, Living Draft Guide, out at Fantasy Alarm right now. Go to fantasyalarm.com/NFL Draft Guide. Just one word. You get a 50% off immediately. It's under $20. Right now, you've got rookies, sleepers, busts, articles. Those are already out. Rankings up the wazoo. Anything you could possibly want ranked, we've got it there. And now this past week here, we've actually been unveiling a number of our strategy articles, from knowing your league rules to being aggressive in auction drafts. And the one that came out today was the Offensive Line Matters from Dan Malin. So lots of great stuff that's popping out here from the NFL Draft Guide. So I want to talk some fantasy football strategies with you guys. Things that we've just, so they people kind of sit on the fence with them. We can start with the zero RB theory, especially in a year like now where you've got basically 4 or 5, elite running backs, and then all of a sudden, then there are question marks that kind of follow through everybody else. A lot of people who play in the PPR format tend to drift over to the zero RB theory, get those elite wide receivers early, maybe an elite tight end, and then they start picking off of the Kareem Hunts and the other pass catching running backs there. Curious as to everybody's thoughts on the zero RB theory. I'll start with Adam Ronis this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I really don't do, or maybe modify it. Something that I will do is if I get a top 3, 4 pick, obviously I'll take one of those backs, and I won't worry about running back for 5, 6 rounds. I did it a lot last year. If I don't like a lot of those running backs, I'm not going to force it. So that's kind of more of a modified. But I do think it can work this year because I think if you ask most people, they're going to say, no, you can't do it. And if everyone is doing the same thing and you go in the opposite direction, it can work. Here's why people are down on it this year. Because last year, a lot of running backs didn't get hurt. So last year was a terrible year for a zero running back. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again this year. And yeah, wide receivers deep, but if you get like an elite tight end and the top receivers and just plug away at a bunch of running backs, a couple guys get hurt, all of a sudden your team can hit. And if you have the strong receivers and tight end, you're not going to be looking at that position on the waiver wire if those guys stay healthy. And you'll just be plucking away, stashing all these running backs. And if a couple of injuries happen, you might work your way into a starting running back. So it's not something that I've done yet. At best ball, it's hard to do just because you can't go to the waiver wire. But in season-long leagues, I do think it's still viable because a lot of people are going to say, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. You got to get your running backs early. And I just don't see myself in redraft leagues taking 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds because the bust rate of those guys in rounds 3 and 4 are way higher than people think. Just because it didn't happen last year doesn't mean it's going to it can't happen this year. And I think people are losing sight of that. If you are looking at those running backs who get big workloads, they have more of a penchant to get hurt. They also have more of a penchant to not reach their ceiling. So I will not be loading up on running backs in redraft league. Ideally, I want a top 3, top 4 pick. Give me one of those elite guys, and then I'm just going to go with a bunch of receivers. I'm even open to taking a tight end and late at round 2 if they make it back. And that's probably what I'll be doing in a lot of my redraft leagues. There's still some running backs I like late in round 1, but I'm not going to be. I can't imagine many of my teams this year 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds, and I know a lot of people are going to do that. And again, if everyone's doing it, I don't want to be in that position because you force yourself to take someone that you really don't love.
Right, and you end up leaving a lot of value on the table. All of a sudden, an elite wide receiver is sitting there, but you opted for a low tier 2 running back in order to do that. Jen, I see a nod in your head. When zero RB was like all the rage a couple of years ago, and everybody was freaking out about it, did you try it at all, or
no,
did you avoid it?
I haven't done a zero RB strategy, but I have done, as Adam said, a modified version of that already this year. And that's, again, I'm bringing up this combo draft, but it was a situation. We were drafting both MLB and NFL, and Rick Wolf and Glenn Colton gave me a hard time about this on the radio on Tuesday, but my first running back I took was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that's because of where I was positioned. I was in the 9th seat. I was able to get Michael Thomas there. I wasn't going to then come back around and I had the option of taking Christian Yelich or first of all, instead of Michael Thomas, I would have already had to have taken Josh Jacobs. And I didn't feel like I wanted to take Josh Jacobs over Michael Thomas in a PPR. That didn't make sense to me. And by the time it came back around, I was going to have to take someone like Chris Carson. I thought Chris Carson might fall, so I took Christian Yelich. I ended up being able to get Chris Carson in the 5th round. I feel perfectly fine with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chris Carson, and then much later I was able to get Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack, by the way, according to that survey at Fantasy Alarm, you guys might be cutting Marlon Mack a little bit too short. We do think Jonathan Taylor will be talented, but don't completely dispose of Marlon Mack. So I got Marlon Mack because I thought even if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a slow start, I can start with Marlon Mack and then later Zach Moss. But there are so many platoons this year that, man, you could take a pretty smart bet, take a J.K. Dobbins, take a Zach Moss, take someone like that in a later round and end up with someone every bit as good as a Chris Carson. Or Josh Jacobs. So if you can get a super elite tight end or wide receiver, there's a lot of argument for doing that. Plus, when everybody zigs, sometimes it's fun to zag.
Mm-hmm.
Well, zero RB theory for you, Ryan. Are you buying it or no?
I've never done it. I've always kind of looked down on it. I've always kind of been like a 2 running back in the first 4 or 5 rounds. I like to have them because, there is kind of a dearth of really good guys. So the more I hear everyone talking, it could be viable this year. Like Adam said, there's a good amount of busts, and like Jen said, there are a lot of platoons. So I think it is possible something to do. And there are wide receiver is very deep, but there's a difference between a guy in the top 10 and a guy in the top 30. So I've never done it, but I'm more attuned to it this year, I think, than I've ever been.
Yeah, I'm still not sure. I'm still not sold on being, in tune with it. I guess we got to go to Pierre over here, and find out. If anybody wants to know why Dan Malin is actually Pierre, there was some Twitter going on. What was it? Was it last week's live stream, Dan, where you're just like, I don't care what division I'm in for the Scott Fish Bowl? Was that last week?
Yeah, and I still don't care.
Yeah, I know you don't care. We know, which is why
I think Scott heard because I'm the only person here that hasn't been placed in the division.
No, I haven't been placed yet either.
Okay.
Which just so I ended up there was a cartoon actually back when I was growing up, and this will take you way back, but Maurice Sendak did all the illustrations, and the voice was Carole King, legendary folk singer, and it was called Really Rosie, and she had a friend named Pierre, who all he said was, I don't care. So I ended up posting that on Twitter. I feel like it needs to stick. I feel like it should stick. This fantasy hipster attitude of yours here, Malin, it's trash, Pierre. It's trash. But nevertheless, zero RB theory. You don't care, or yeah, you're into it?
I don't care.
There you go.
But I mean, like a couple years ago, I was a bigger fan of it, but I like the comfort of getting one of the top running backs. Definitely, if you're drafting in the top 4, you can get one. Even if I'm drafting towards the back end of the first round, early second round, I still like the comfort of taking a top tier wide receiver to go with a running back. You never know how the draft is going to unfold. The latest I'd be willing to go to take my first running back might be round 5, which I think is a little more true to the definition of what zero RB is. I think when it really came on strong a couple of years ago, it was like you go the first 5 or 6 rounds without taking a running back. I think this year I really don't want to go more than 3 or 4, but I agree with Adam and Jen. Like the bust rate in the 3rd and 4th round is pretty high. I do think we see a more regression to the mean with injuries to running backs this year. This could be a year that zero RB pays off. I haven't done a ton of mocks yet, so I mean, I haven't tried it out or practiced with it yet. Right now, I really like the comfort of getting a running back in the first 2 rounds.
Man, it really pains me to hear that you're the one who brought up the most important point about what the zero RB theory is, and that is that you're not like just taking 2 wide receivers and then coming back in the 3rd for a running back. It's hardcore. You need to make those, first 4, 5, 6 picks even without taking a running back and doing it. I mean, listen, you know what? If you can get some good value on wide receivers, if you find yourself in a spot where you can turn around and you can grab Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, pair it up with a George Kittle or a Travis Kelce, that kind of a situation. That's the essence of the true, zero RB theory. I think that's the thing that a lot of people forget. People just assume, if I don't take a running back in my first 3 picks, that's zero RB. You got to go deeper than that. Right. And that's, something that I think a lot of people forget. So kudos, Pierre.
Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot.
Really rebounded after that terrible movie decision.
Yeah, not really. Anyway, all right, what about handcuffing? This is something I'm a big proponent of handcuffing. But it obviously also depends on the situation. When you're talking about when there is a clear-cut handcuff, like Dalvin Cook's handcuff is Alex Madison. No question about it. And you want to, if Dalvin Cook holds out or gets hurt, Madison's getting all the touches there. Now, there are some people who, there are other situations where you're not 100% sure as to who the handcuff is. Like Kenyon Drake. Is his handcuff Chase Edmonds, or is his handcuff, could it be Eno Benjamin? We're just not at that point yet. There's also a situation where you've got like Joe Mixon. And do you handcuff him to Gio Bernard, or does Gio Bernard just stay in that pass catching role and you have to handcuff Joe Mixon to Travion Williams. So I'll start with Ryan here on this one. Handcuffing, yay, nay, situational. Is this something is a common practice of yours?
Used to be very common practice. I would say at least 5 years or so ago. But in recent years, I've really gotten away from it, except in certain situations where, like you said, like Cook and Madison, yes, I can see it there. But I'd rather take my later picks and not necessarily take the guy who's behind my guy. I'm going to target more guys that I think have a chance of overtaking the starting running back, or if a starting running back has a lot of injury problems, I'll take their backup before the person can handcuff it. So years ago, I was pretty set on handcuffing, but now I've gotten away from it, more trying to target guys who I think have a better chance of making an impact rather than just the guy behind my guy.
Okay. Jen, how about you?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Ryan there. I mean, in the clear-cut cases, sure. Cook and Madison is a great example. Maybe Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. I don't know. Maybe you want to do that. But otherwise, I would rather, there are so many platoons with talented guys. You got Mark Ingram, you got J.K. Dobbins, you got DeAndre. So there's so many platoons and things that could go that I might rather take a gamble on one of those guys standing out than take a gamble on my guy getting hurt. It just seems like a more optimistic way to do it. And I'm absolutely a fan of stealing other people's handcuffs. For instance, if someone has Dalvin Cook and we're getting into later rounds and they haven't taken Alexander Madison, yeah, I would take Alexander Madison there because that's a double whammy. That's, also playing defense as well as offense.
I feel like it's more about investing in the team system, the team scheme than anything else. Like if Dalvin Cook goes down, Alex Madison, it's a great run scheme for the team. There are some cases though where it doesn't look good. Like you look at Jacksonville. If Leonard Fournette doesn't get the work, is Rykel Armstead, really a guy? We talk about tandem backfields. Yeah, you talk about Mark Ingram, and you'd rather you take a shot on a J.K. Dobbins. I think that we kind of elevate a lot of these players here to the point where is it really going to be a true committee running back situation? I get the whole point where you've got a lead running back and then a pass catching running back. But, to say that, when we look at the situation like the Ravens, you've got Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. It's just kind of like a mixture of guys in there. So, it's curious to me. Pierre, how about you? Are you a handcuffer, Pierre?
I think you were about to hit on something really important, and that's kind of like if you have a star running back go down, you really have to evaluate, like, is their backup, can they get even like 70% of what you were getting out of the starter? And with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison and Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard, sure, you can make the argument. But if you own Saquon Barkley, do you really think it's worth it to cuff him with Deion Lewis or Wayne Gallman? Is Christian McCaffrey, is he worth cuffing with Reggie Bonifant? So it's like, it is a case-by-case basis with cuffing. I think you just have to assess where you're at and who you take. And and if that guy goes down, is their backup guaranteed to even get half of what the starter could have gotten you? So, like, in the Dalvin Cook instance, sure, cuff him with Alexander Madison. It'll cost you a pretty solid draft pick. But, like with other guys, it's like if I am Christian McCaffrey, I'm not even going to look at his handcuff. If McCaffrey goes down, I just got to eat it.
Yeah, there are definitely situations like that. Ronis, I'll give you the final word here on handcuffing.
Yeah, I don't do it a lot unless it's, someone directly behind where we know for sure, like a Tony Pollard with Zeke in a great offense. But you just Dan hit on like McCaffrey, Barkley. These are top two picks. Are we handcuffing them? No, I don't even see people do it in best ball leagues. So a lot of times we don't know what the answer is. And I love the people who are pro handcuffing, like when a star player goes down and the backup comes in. See, I told you, if you didn't listen to me, you missed out. And they don't say a damn word when the guy doesn't get hurt, and they wasted a roster spot on the guy all year long. It's so funny how people people do this with everything, whether it's with stats or things to fit their narrative. They don't say anything when, well, yeah, I took that guy's handcuff. I held him all year and he never played and I wasted a bench spot. They don't say anything about that. They only pound their chest when, I told you should handcuff and this guy went down in week 3. And if you didn't listen to me, now you don't have Madison. Okay, what about the year before when the guy didn't get hurt and you didn't say anything? Like, oh, it was a waste of roster spots. So it kind of works both ways. But to me, there's too many situations right now. We don't know who the backup is. Who's the handcuff for Aaron Jones? Do we know?
Jamal
no,
Fuller.
we don't. I mean,
No,
it's
I
either
don't think
it's
It
either
could be
Jamal
A.J.
Williams.
Dillon.
Right. So
I
like,
think it's
which guy you drafted as the handcuff? You're going to draft both and waste 2 roster spots? That's my problem.
I agree.
A lot of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, last year I had to, I definitely had to, pull that mea culpa with handcuffing because a lot of people came back at me and they were like, this guy sat on my bench all year. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It kept you protected. You had the opportunity to drop him if you wanted to, but I can't tell you that injuries are going to happen or injuries aren't going to happen. That's not my job. My job.
And I wasn't coming at you.
No. I know.
And I see both sides of it. Like, again, it's easy to say, oh, well, Derrick Henry went down, Darrington Evans, I told you should handcuff, if that happens in week 3. But then if Henry goes to another year where he's completely healthy, it's like, well, I kind of held this guy all year and wasted a bench spot, and which is critical in bye weeks. Because if you're going to preach this handcuff, you can't drop that guy in week 10 for a bye week, right? You have to hold him, right? When the Titans are on bye and you have both running backs on bye in small bench spots, what are you going to do? So, I mean, I see both sides of it, which is why I'm kind of more on it's not necessary. And, yeah, I'll get burned one year when, well, I should have, had Tony Pollard to Zeke. And it's easier to get him this year. Pollard was a higher draft pick last year because of the potential holdout. Pollard's, he's about round 10, round 11 now. So that's a decent price because a lot of those players are not going to either not be a starter for you or they're going to bust in that round. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense because the Cowboys offense is going to be good and we've seen Pollard have success. You brought up Madison, but there's a lot of these situations we don't know. And Nick Chubb, right? Are you going to spend a 5th-round pick on Kareem Hunt if you have Nick Chubb? I just don't see that being wise.
See, and that's what I was trying to say is like if you have, let's say you rostered Clyde Edwards-Helaire let's say you rostered Zeke and instead of taking Tony Pollard, you took Damian Williams and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets injured. You may get a lot more out of Damian Williams than you would out of Tony Pollard. So that's what I mean. Like I would rather bet on my guy getting more of an offense, take that positive step than bet on my guy getting injured. That's how I feel about it. I feel like you're giving yourself more upside by not taking your handcuff. And maybe you get screwed once in a while, but I think the odds are that you may be able to find someone like a J.K. Dobbins or, I don't know, maybe Cam Akers, or maybe you believe in Darrell Henderson. Maybe he's going to be fine, and you're going to get him really late, and he is going to take over that role. And I'd rather do that than necessarily always draft a handcuff. I just feel like you're limiting your possibilities. Then you have to hold them until your guy gets injured. I see both sides of it, and we could point to scenarios where, hey, the pro handcuff side worked, and on the other side where it didn't. But I think also where I really want to handcuff is during the season, especially if, some of these guys might sit on the waiver, not the Madisons, the Pollards won't, competitive leagues, they won't. But, we're talking to people who might be playing in leagues with 16 roster spots. Bye weeks come. Some of these backups get cut. That's when you start to look to add them, week 6, 7, 8, as the season goes along. Maybe someone does drop a Madison. Cook stays healthy, and he goes, you know what? I got bye week issues. I got to cut him. That's when you go swoop and pick them up. I agree there for sure.
I like it. I think we're all in agreement. It is a case-by-case basis, and you have to be alert to it. That's one of the reasons why I do the handcuff grid for running backs. It's not only it's explaining who the lead back is, but who's the complementary back, who's the pass catching back, and who is the potential handcuff. Because again, you see a lot of people do things like, say, all right, well, I'm going to for example, just Jacksonville again. Is Chris Thompson the handcuff to Leonard Fournette, or is Chris Thompson always going to sit?
He's not.
Right. I'm saying, is he always going to stay in that third down role, where he's the pass catcher, which puts Raquel Armstead in the land of handcuffs. Same thing with Gio Bernard. He's not a between the tackles guy, and if Joe Mixon holds out or goes down, then Travion Williams is the guy. Now he'll split the role with Gio Bernard a little bit more than if it were Joe Mixon there, but that's the reason behind that handcuff grid in order to make that happen. So, Beautiful. All right. Well, let's wrap things up with a fun one here. Obviously, Adam said that one of the things that he is starting to learn about his coworkers here is number one is that Pierre has the weirdest eating habits known to mankind. So between that and the fact that Jen Piacenti grows up in a household that lives and dies by its pizza, because Rick Piacenti is the ultimate pizza maker, I want you guys to build your ultimate pizza. Like, you're living, you're ordering it. It's by yourself. You don't care what anybody else likes. What's your go-to pizza? Who wants to start? Jen?
Really hard for me because there are so many combos. To me, pizza is the greatest food. It is its own food group because you can make so many combos, and it changes what I would do, whether it was New York or my dad's or Chicago. So I'll just go as general as possible. In general, I would probably go pepperoni has to be extra, extra crispy. Green peppers and onions. I think that would be like the most general.
Green peppers, onions, and pepperoni.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of gas attack is not going to lure the guys in, Jen. I'm just telling you flat out, right?
Well, now we know a lot of questions have been answered.
Right? Toot, 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 toot. Out her back door. Ryan Hallam, what do you got for us?
Our usual go-to pizza is always pepperoni and pineapple. A little bit of a flair off of a Hawaiian. It's really good, Adam. Believe me. The pepperoni gives a nice the savory to go with the sweet. But if I'm building like the ultimate pizza, I mean, I have to throw bacon on there because bacon is just the greatest food out there. And I'll throw some onions on there too because that's pretty good. It's crazy. I don't know that I ever eat that, but pepperoni and pineapple.
Are you saying pepperoni, pineapple, onions, and bacon?
Go for it. Yeah, I like it.
Wow. All right. You're going to have amazing breath. I wish I were your wife to be able to smoke you. We're saving Pierre for the last one here. He gets the final word on that mayo pizza he wants to build. Right? Can I get a pizza with tuna fish?
He's going to say buffalo chicken. You guys wait.
I want tuna fish.
That's number 2.
Adam, what do you got?
Yeah, obviously there's so many ways to go, but I'll have a chicken, meatball, pepperoni, extra cheese, and broccoli.
So curveball with the broccoli.
So close, and then you did the broccoli.
I love broccoli, man.
But on your pizza,
want to ruin a pizza like that?
I've had vegetable pizza that's very good. I like vegetable pizza.
I like vegetable pizza.
Not broccoli though.
Why not?
Because it's broccoli, dude.
Broccoli is awesome, man.
I really need someone to favorite cottage cheese.
I saw a documentary about farmers, growing broccoli and having to spray them for bugs. And they sprayed the broccoli, and then you saw like they zoomed in on with the camera because it looked like they were spraying it, and it just looked like water was teeming out of the floured part. And then they kept zooming in and zooming in and zooming in, and they were all, and it wasn't water, it was just that big of an amount of bugs living in the head of the broccoli. Yeah, it was like the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was horrifying. So yeah, broccoli for me is you lost me, Adam. You lost me. I still won't vote you out first on Survivor, but
all right. Well, that's the most important part.
There you go. The anti-chef Dan Malin, master of the Hawaiian pizza. I know that.
Yep.
And I'm with you on the Hawaiian.
My number 1 is Hawaiian pizza. Jen was close. My number 2 is buffalo chicken pizza. The best pizza I've ever had was from a local pizzeria back home. Buffalo chicken pizza is better if the chicken's actually breaded. If it's not breaded, if it's just grilled, I don't really care for it. I like the crunch that you get with the breading. But Hawaiian pizza, relatively close to Ryan's option. Hawaiian pizza is my favorite. Love the pineapple. Love the ham. And I'm not opposed to like pepperoni or bacon also being on it, but Hawaiian pizza is definitely my favorite. Not too weird, so like you can't.
I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest.
Kind of a letdown. Way to go.
You want me to throw jelly beans on there?
Yeah, really let you go last for a reason.
You don't eat mayo on your pizza?
No, I do not put mayonnaise on my pizza.
Stunning.
I'm sorry.
Upstate New York convinced me to start dipping your pizza in blue cheese dressing.
Yeah. I dip it in ranch sometimes.
Blue cheese is just mold. I can't do that.
You're just mold. All right. Well, nobody voted for the barbecue chicken pizza. I'm a huge fan. Barbecue chicken pizza. Throw some bacon on there, some cilantro, barbecue chicken. I'm with Pierre as far as the breaded chicken to make that happen. I definitely dig on that. And then you throw some onions in there. Why? Because I am also a huge gas bag, and I'll admit that, and I'll be happy to say it. You know what? Listen, my wife, she's stuck with me. She's got no other options. None. She's there. That's it.
There's always a way out, Deb. DM me later.
There's always options. Just keep that in mind.
I mean, you spend enough time in that shed, she could have the place emptied out before you get out of there.
Oh my God. Really? That'd be amazing. That's going to do it for us here at Table That Discussion. As always, a big thank you to my esteemed panel here, Ryan Hallam, Jen Piacenti, Adam Ronis, and Pierre himself, the fantasy hipster, Dan Malin. Always a pleasure. Big thanks to Matt Sells for producing for us. As always, he does such an amazing job. That's going to do it, though, here. Fantasy Alarm TV. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Howard Bender, and we'll catch you next time.